What's up, everybody? This is Tasteless here with Gemini. We are bringing you a match of MaNa versus Vortix. They're both going to be on Infernal. MaNa is the champion of DreamHack Atlanta, beating not only TLO, but Moon in the finals, the first ever recorded, casted, competitive Stormgate match. And Vortix, brother of Lucifron, the two brother RTS legends. These guys are powerhouses, not just in StarCraft 2, Heroes of the Storm as well. Here they are now in Stormgate. So I'm very excited to see these two duke it out and see what kind of game we're going to have.
Yeah, it's going to be super sick. Vortix is going to be on the bottom left as purple, and then MaNa over on the top right as teal. So this is going to be a pretty good one because Vortix has actually been playing a lot of Stormgate, apparently. He's very good. His brother Lucifron also is apparently super high up on the ladder there. So they're definitely taking full advantage of Stormgate and seeing how good they can get at it. And it's going to be pretty cool because, like you said, they're just legends. They've been around for so long in so many different games. And so it's going to be really cool to see how much they can do in Stormgate.
So very different openers. We have a fast expand opening here for MaNa. Vortix is going with double Iron Vault, so he's going to be doing some kind of a rush. We've got Imps inbound here as well.
Going for a Shroud Stone on the bottom. Ooh, this is going to be pretty good. This is definitely a map-specific strategy because of the way that this natural base layout is. You have a lot of this low ground here underneath, right underneath that Luminite field. So it's very easy to get some of these early rushes off, and so that's exactly what Vortix is going to go for. The double vault with the Shroud Stone to get brutes spammed up, and then eventually you can split them off into fiends once they die off. So this is a very strong rush. It's going to be very difficult if MaNa does not notice it as soon as possible.
And seeing that there's not one but two brutes here should sound the alarm here for MaNa, thinking, wait a minute, okay, he did start his expand first with the Iron Vaults a little bit later on. He is going to be making some of his own defensive structures, but he doesn't know about the Shroud Stone, not the one that's right there, but the one that's about a screenshot below this. We see the first brute is going to come out. 3 imps are going to be drawn in here. And, I mean, he could basically just deny mining. This is already looking to be extremely strong here from Vortix.
Yeah, we're going to have to be getting a lot more Shroud Stones and meat farms out for MaNa to be able to defend against this as he waits for more of his own brutes to be able to defend. And as you can see, he's actually going right on top Vortix's onto those building Shroud Stones to make sure that those don't get up, because if they do, it will be a lot of extra damage that can get thrown out. And eventually, if enough Animus gets built up, you will be able to throw down your own Infest as well. So if he does not have a Shroud Stone up, that won't actually be possible, whereas Vortix will. And, I mean, just even now, just the initial brutes are completely overrunning this position right now because he's in this nice little spot where he can just move between the 2 Shroud Stone and the Shrine of MaNa.
He does get the kill over there. That is going to pop 2 more Fiends out. They're going to be immediately intercepted here by the brutes of Vortix over here. We have the 2 meat farms that are up, but the Fellhounds are not really doing that much to help. Now we have some real static defense, but it's going to be taken out almost immediately here. You can see that there's just not enough HP remaining, which means that this natural expansion is in real peril.
Yeah, this is getting really dire here for MaNa. He's still got a couple of his brutes alive, and even though they do have low health, remember that they do split into fiends on action, so you will be able to just split that off for a couple extra units. But the thing is that the Shrine is completely dead. Now that allows Vortix to easily make his own if he wants to as well. He doesn't actually need to end the game with this push. He can just go ahead and expand himself and just be ahead for the rest of the game. Looks like MaNa is actually sending all of his brutes, splitting them off into fiends, and will go completely on the other side of the map, saying that, no, I'm not going to be able to defend against this. I'm just going right for this. Actually kills off the creeping units as well. Why not? Sure, just A-move that across. So that's nice. But MaNa's forfeiting this natural position and trying to do a lot of damage on the counterattack here.
Yeah, now, what is actually here to defend? I mean, we're seeing these Fiends come up here. They could easily get surrounds on these brutes, and there's no way the brutes can get away. He's going to have to split those, and he does not. He only gets a split on 1, I believe. Oh, no, he actually gets a split on 2. The other 2 just move up to the north here, excuse me. And there's going to be a little bit of targeting over here on the Shrine. But again, these Fiends, they don't have that kind of longevity that you need to really be a permanent threat here, so they do die out.
Yeah, unfortunately, not enough damage there for MaNa. He really was looking for a bit more, I guess. He did. I mean, he killed off some of the brutes, and then the fiends, but he lost so much to do that, and he didn't even. You didn't even touch the economy whatsoever from Vortix, let alone even that natural denying it or anything. So this is now going to be really difficult for MaNa. He's going to have to try and just get as many units as possible to try and bust out of his own main base here.
Yeah, and the problem now for MaNa is that Vortix has this outpost that's controlling the resource location that he wants to take. And at the same time, Vortix can freely expand when he sees the opportunity there to try to do so. So you've got these brutes coming forward here. The tower can, they can tank a little bit of damage. We got Infest casted down here now, and of course that's going to probably drive him away.
And this is what I'm talking about before, whereas Vortix is the one that has Infest ability out, so he's going to be able to deny a lot of these units here. Eventually, it looks like there's going to be enough here because of the previous attack, counterattack that actually killed off some of the brutes for Vortix. So MaNa was able to eventually clear this out here, but what's the cost? I mean, he's got no natural setup. He's not even started making it up to this point either. So it's like, what is he expecting to be able to do it at this point? He's going to try to maybe take it later. It looks like he's got an imp just about to make it on the minimap. He does, but he's going to just be behind for the rest of the game if he can't get anything done here.
Yeah. So, I mean, a really impressive showing here from Vortix, and I think we may be seeing MaNa kind of flounder here. I do like that he's trying to creep on the map and get whatever he can get done, but there's already a third base being taken here for Vortix, where that third base is even in its finish time to the second base here for MaNa. And obviously, I mean, it goes without saying, but we might as well just point it out. In a mere matchup, you're getting the same units. So one player being substantially ahead on bases, there's not usually an easy path to recovery from there.
Yeah, we're going to have to try and see some kind of tricky play coming out of MaNa here to try and get some kind of damage or something to sneak his way back into this game. Perhaps maybe going for a fast double expand or something like that to eke out some economy that way. There has to be some kind of risk that has to be played for MaNa because you are just so far behind at this point in the game. For now, he's just trying to get the natural. He's making a Shroud Stone to make sure that he's got his natural set up and can at least save that if there's any counter pressure coming here for Vortix. But unless he goes for something else, I mean, I'm not sure what MaNa's really hoping for here. He doesn't. It's not even like he's Vanguard, so he can maybe get a Bob around to get some kill off some of the trees to get some kind of sneak play. It's kind of obvious that you might be going for that, perhaps as the Infernal. So until there's the Magmadons, it's kind of hard to actually kill off large amounts of those. So I mean, for now, he's just sitting back trying to see if he can possibly get his economy back up.
So it's going to be a slow game if MaNa can recover. We don't have that third base. We see things developing very quickly here. Gaunts are going to come into play. If I were Vortix in this position, I would be waiting. Just waiting to see, okay, when is your expansion going to be? Or your push? Or your harass, maybe? Are you going to have some kind of counterattack that you're going to rely on? Whatever it may be, we're not going to probably see it because I think that Vortix is just going to push through the middle of the map. I wonder if it's worth it to split your brutes here and chase down his brutes just to force his brutes to split so that you get a reset on his production. What do you think?
I think it's a bit risky to go for it just because, especially now that there's Shroud Stones for each player, you could technically have the Global Infest get put down at any moment. So if you totally split all your brutes into fiends and go for a big surround, that then gives the other player the opportunity to then snowball it back into your favor with a Global Infest, and then suddenly things are getting totally out of hand when you really should be able to just push for the win. So I think it's the safest play for now for Vortix just to stay back a little bit, mass up enough units because he's going to have the tech advantage, he's going to have more Gaunts, he's going to have Magmadons soon anyway. So once you can get all of that together and then go for one big push, you will have the tech advantage, so your snowball will be much more impactful, I think.
Well, by the way, excellent analysis. I totally agree. Now that you make that point, we have a tower being made in the center of the map here. More of a control play here from Vortix to basically see, okay, is anybody moving through here? Are these resource camps going to be taken later? Because Vortix can start to try to set up maybe a move where he can actually take a fight. He's going to now move up through the middle of the map. It looks like he's ready for basically this resource camp over here at the bottom to open up so he can get a kill there again. And controlling both of these watchtowers in the bottom right and the top left.
Yeah, I really like that he's even got the Shroud Stone in the middle here, so that way it gives him a little staging point to continually get his white health back up.
Yeah.
So that way he doesn't have to go all the way back to his base. He's just got this little pivot point, essentially, where he can go and steal MaNa's creep camps here and there and then just go right back to the middle. Since he's got in full control of the game anyway, it allows him to just kind of go on the map and do these types of things. So now he doesn't have to run all the way back home to get everything set back up. And now here he is with that big army of the Gaunts, the Brutes, and now even a Magmadon, like I was saying. So now it's giving him real control because that stun threat is very big now. Oh, he even can just, kill
Damn,
the trees.
Magmadon's flying up the sides of cliffs.
It's always so surprising when they do that. Just like comes out of nowhere.
But
It's
how
like,
slow they are when they move. They're just like, they just go up there. So he's hitting from behind over here. We've got the Infest down now, and that means that we're going to see MaNa move in here. Was this a mistake, by the way, for Vortix?
Yeah, that Magmadon stun onto all those Gaunts was actually pretty big for MaNa, but unfortunately there's just not enough here to actually capitalize on it. So the final hit on a lot of those Gaunts doesn't actually get killed off. So now it's allowing Vortix to really overrun. The Fiends are starting to spawn absolutely everywhere, and that's going to be a GG. Vortix finds his mark and will take the first game.
Beautifully done from start to finish. Vortix with kind of a world-class game back there. The fact that he was able to, control the position of that expansion was really impressive, then grow heavily behind it and not overextend at all. Pretty easy-peasy victor there. We're going to go into game 2 now. This is Vortix as teal, and we have MaNa as our purple player. Right now, Vortix is up 1-0. That's pretty huge, considering that MaNa is, finishing DreamHack just a few months ago as the kind of Stormgate champion, defeating Moon. Now MaNa is here to try to fight and reclaim his throne here, or Vortix could take this with a 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, he's already going for another similar aggressive play here, getting a forward Iron Vault all the way at the front, getting a second one as well. Actually, possibly even a third one. This is actually what I was talking a little bit about in one of the other casts where I was saying you go for a fast 3 Vault.
He's
and
a man of class.
Just go right across, man. I mean, he's got nothing.
He's going to be a full-on ogre mode.
The ogre gamer over here.
Yes, he's just going to go just go for the rush right away. Well, you know what? I kind of welcome this because this allows us to unpack the builds, the meta. Like, can you actually expand like this? I know that we're all used to seeing it in StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2, but is Stormgate in a spot in this mirror matchup where you can actually get away with it? We're going to see. Vortix seems to think he can just come in here and attack. Cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the fast expand coming out of MaNa here again is a bit greedy, let's be honest. It's pretty greedy out of him to go for it because you're assuming that the other player is going to go for some sort of early macro play as well, not for these early vault plays. And so you can usually get in a pretty safe position with this fast expand here. But Vortix seemingly knowing that you can just go ahead and punish it with these early vault plays. And so, again, Stormgate is designed to try and make it so that way some of these early cheese rushes are not as potent, maybe a little bit easier to defend sometimes. But I think it's still a relatively healthy thing to have into the game to be able to at least punish some of these players that try to go for extremely greedy openers with completely blindly.
Yeah, so immediately, I think the idea with the strategy is you come in here, you harass the workers, you force them to defend, but the ace up your sleeve is that you're actually going to be rushing in the distance. With the towers, excuse me.
Yeah. So you have the towers coming up as well, and then you'll have for this one, since it is 3 vault, it's going to be mostly hindered on the brutes for now. We do have the 1 tower on the left side, but it's not going to. I don't think it's going to be a super amount of towers like we had last time, but still, it's an extremely oppressive build that can come in extremely quickly here with a lot of brutes, and so you have to be very careful on your defense. We already have a couple meat farms getting put down to help with the Fell Hogs to help out as well, so that's going to be very important here. The first Shroud Stone is going to get up, but actually still survives with just a little bit of HP for now, but will finally get killed off here, so that's very good for MaNa's defense, as more brutes now coming up, trying to get on top of more of these defensive Shroud Stones for MaNa.
Yeah, it looks like he's forcing that one to not finish here. We've got some of these Fiends splitting off. That forces the Fiends to be split over there to chase down the attack that's going to come in here from Vortix. Vortix is probably looking for kills onto the workers. This is going to make an opening here for reinforcements to try to hit this natural expansion. But I got to say, already, it does feel like MaNa's in a much better control of this game than in game 1. Yeah,
this is actually a very nice defense from him. He reacted extremely well. He has the defensive meat farms and the Shroud Stones coming up. His micro has been very good. I like the response as well to chase the Fiends, knowing that that's where the majority of the damage is coming. The brutes, while they do still come across the map in larger amounts than what MaNa has back at home, it takes a long time for them to get there because they are pretty slow units. You don't want to split them from the beginning and send them across because then they're going to have really low health on the Fiends. So he's initially just running after the Fiends that were running around in his main base to completely deny that damage from happening, and then he'll deal with the reinforcements later. So overall, very good defense from MaNa, and now Vortix is left to just kind of regroup all of his brutes in one spot to eventually maybe go for another big swelling push for a little bit later.
So I mean, where can you really go from here as Vortix? It does feel like it's the classic RTS problem of the guy that rushes is now behind because he didn't win. He's going to try to come in here and attack once more. It does seem like this Shroud Stone has been a bit neglected. He comes in, hits, and then leaves again. Okay, so that actually gives him, I think, a real in for the time being. I think had he not gotten that, this would be a problem. But now we can see that the Brutes are going to start to accumulate. This is kind of crazy. He's going to go ahead and take out the farm as well.
Yeah, unfortunately for MaNa, he actually set his units across the map at this exact moment, so it allowed Vortix to come in here. And now it's going to be a brute-on-brute action as all the Fiends start to get split up as the Brutes start to die at their last slivers of health. And then it's going to become just a total Fiend battle of who has more at this point. And with the defensive Fellhogs as well, and an extra Shroud Stone coming up, it looks like MaNa will be able to deflect this back for now.
Yeah, MaNa just hanging on for the time being. What a relief here. You were right. He sent some units out to try to, take control of the map, and that's exactly when Vortix decided to come in here and hit and attack. But again, it seems like there's diminishing returns each time we see Vortix try to move in here, strike, and do any kind of real damage. It's just not quite enough.
Yeah, I wonder what would have happened if Vortix, instead of trying to leave them all as brutes and micro them one by one into fiends, I wanted to see him actually just instantly split them all into fiends right away and just go for a huge attack, because the amount of DPS that you get as all of them with all of them as fiends is actually way higher, so you can DPS stuff down pretty quickly. I think he maybe just didn't expect MaNa's army to be completely out of position. He assumed that it was going to be responding pretty quickly. But if he had made that snap decision to just go all into fiends and get on top of the imp line or something like that, I think that actually could have done some really good damage.
It makes me wonder, too, when you see these towers making that are there to either defend or attack, should that prompt you to then go for the fiends just to get the damage output to maybe take them out, or to try to snowball the fight temporarily?
Yeah, it does a lot of damage against the buildings as well if you have them in as fiends. Looks like Vortix is going to come right back in here with a couple more imps as well. He's going to try to put some more forward Shroud Stones. He's really just going all in with this. He did not expand behind this, so he's just continuing this all in further into the game. And for now, he's actually going to get maybe a couple of these Shroud Stones up, but this is still very committed.
Yeah, I think this is almost over, man. I don't see any other real way to recover from this game. I mean, no extra base. Look at the infrastructure, the defense, everything. Yes, these Fellhogs are going to be coming out. It's not going to be enough. GG, that's going to tie us up 1-1 here, as we have, honestly, a pretty exciting double rush game back-to-back here. Vortix takes one off of MaNa, then MaNa fights back with an even more, pronounced rush there in Game 2. Game 3 is going to be starting right now, and this is going to be both players once again on Infernals. We're going to be starting this game in a second here.
Yeah, it's going to be on Jagged Maw as the third map here. Vortix is going to be back on purple, so they're switching their colors. It just depends on who hosts the game.
It's the hardest, difficulty level for the casters here.
Yeah.
So Vortix back on purple here on Jagged Maw. And let's see if Vortix rushes again.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be his style for now, from what we've seen. I mean, a lot of Infernal versus Infernal can come down to some of those early rushes, because taking use of those Fiend battles early on is very impactful. And again, like I was saying, once you get into the later stages, the Fiend versus Fiend and the Infest swinging stuff can be kind of hard to really judge and know exactly who's going to win. So doing it earlier on in the game is makes it a little bit easier to kind of actually understand what's going on. So
yeah, again, guys, do be sure to like and subscribe. Let us know what you think about these games in the comments. We're very grateful for Frost Giant for giving us these recorded matches of the very best players who've been active here in the alpha. And of course, the open beta is just around the corner, just after Next Fest on Steam. So exciting times. Some of my happiest RTS memories were being in Korea right when StarCraft 2 came out. Pros coming over to my house and playing, watching them play, me laddering, trying to figure out what works, what doesn't. The first couple seasons of GSL, seeing, what ideas work, what doesn't. Things that nobody had thought of before, some pro trying it out. And we're just at another exciting moment that's about to start for all of us as we get into these new games.
Yeah, it was always so fun in the early beta stages, just the full possible discovery of what could happen. It was just so interesting being able to toy around with everything. It felt like anything was possible. Like you can go any strat and find a way to win if you were just, a little bit better. You just had a cool little thing that you knew that the other player didn't or something. So it's always really fun in these early stages to see how everything develops. And it's really cool to be able to see it here for Stormgate. This time, though, it's going to be Vortix not going for an early rush. He's actually matching the expansion timing. So we will have, for now at least, an actual macro versus macro Infernal matchup here.
Cool. Well, look, Vortix, I know he rushed the last 2 games, but he's not a guy who's like, oh, he only knows how to rush, or he knows how to do any kind of cheese stuff like that. He really is good at all the different types of RTS games we could have here. I feel like we haven't gotten to talk about MaNa as much because it's just him trying to defend and hold off whatever is going to be coming his way. But yeah, double expanding here. Hopefully this is a pretty long and dramatic game. Remember, this is a map where you get these siege camps. So you kill the creeps at the siege camps and it spawns a catapult that you don't control, but it will basically beeline towards your opponent's base, attacking buildings or other enemy units in its way. And it is it's something that's extremely, I think, interesting in addition to Stormgate. And it's a reminder to everybody that, there's a lot that Frost Giant can still do with the maps, and you can still do in RTS. So we'll see what kind of role that plays as we get further along here.
And we got a couple fiends now going across the map here, scouting around for a MaNa. We'll get inside of Vortix's base here. It's essentially all it is. It's just a scout. It's not trying to get too much damage. Maybe you would get an imp or just deny the mining for a second here or there. So not really trying to get any huge damage done. Just sacrificing a few brutes to be able to get that early scouting to know if there's any sort of early rush or if they're going for an early expand or something like that. And then just getting a couple more vaults, a couple more shroud stones, meat farms back at home to secure his defenses, make sure that no counterattack is going to kill him or anything. And then we'll be setting up his third base as he's already got it in production here.
Okay, little attack coming up here. He's going to run right by these brutes. A little bit of scouting here. Keep in mind, we don't know exactly what is, the right tech or the wrong tech or the cheesy tech. But getting in there and getting an idea of what your opponent's doing is going to certainly be helpful here. But these are brutes that are basically lost. Now they were turned into fiends. They did come in there. So we'll see if that plays a role later on. I like the building placement, by the way, with the meat farm and the shrine there. That kind of covers the mining location very nicely.
Yeah, that is pretty good. The only downside of it is that the shrine is slightly more to the right, so you can't actually get the Therium income as well if you're trying to get that over there. Since Infernal doesn't have a building like Vanguard does that allows for quicker Therium
like a
mining.
Secondary resource deposit.
Yeah. So like Vanguard has the refinery where it allows you to put it next to the Therium, and then you can just mine really quickly right next to it. Infernal doesn't have a building like that, so you just have to always mine it back to the shrine. And so if the shrine is farther away from the Therium, it can make it a little harder to get that extra income. But for now, it doesn't seem like Vortix actually wants to go for that. The initial Therium in the main base is all he wants, and he's going for a very fast three Conclave Gaunt Rush with the Shadow Clef to help get the Infest ability as well. Actually, might even just be for Magmadons, actually. So he's going to go for a very quick 2-base rush, whereas MaNa is going for a fast 3-base. So even though he's not going for a 1-base cheese, he's still going for something overall aggressive as Vortix.
So we've got what looks to be the setup for an attack down here at the bottom. Sorry, were they imps down there in the bottom?
I think there were some fiends that were
fiends,
left over.
Okay, all right. Yeah, it looks like he's going to be roaming out here to, I guess deny a third base if a third base is going to be an option. You kind of expand towards the middle here, although it does seem like all the factions right now prefer to hug the corners of the map and kind of expand in a line away from, their starting locations and their opponent's starting locations. In this game, we do have MaNa more occupying the very bottom side of what would be Vortix's side of the map. By the way, Vortix going to go for that first siege camp, so we're going to see that catapult spawn in a second.
Yeah, and for now, MaNa's actually killing off the vision turret as well. So unfortunately, though, he doesn't own the vision turret, so he won't actually be able to see exactly what is happening here unless he gets, actually goes all the way fully into the camp here. So he doesn't actually get the scout off just yet. We'll now just see these units coming down here, though. So that's a huge scout for MaNa to know that he's going to be going for the siege camp in the middle there. He even brought an imp down to actually kill the rocks in the middle as well. So he's going to go straight through, not going all the way around. It does take a little while for that imp to do, as you can see there. He's actually microing onto the catapult to make sure it doesn't go too far up. He wants to keep it as close to the middle as possible. He's trying his hardest, but it really doesn't want to go.
But can you make it fully stop?
You can't make it stop, but you can
Okay.
body block it, and so that's what he was trying to do for a while there. But he eventually has to respond to these units over here. But then now that the middle is cleared out, the catapult will just walk across, and then Vortix is going to have to go meet it. It's actually going to have to go in pretty quickly because that thing will just go. It just runs away. So if you're not actually near it, it'll just kind of go and suicide itself. And so he needs to make sure that he's with it. But now it's just fully in the front here, and it could actually end up just getting killed off without doing too much.
Yeah, he's going to close in here. It looks like the catapult is going to do more tanking than actual damage here. But now we have MaNa coming down here and fighting pretty fiercely. We've got Infest cast on here, as it looks like MaNa's going to try to pull back for the time being. A dive in here from Vortix, a counter Infest over here from MaNa.
Yeah, this is when it starts to get super crazy as the Infests just go off absolutely everywhere, as all the Fiends start spawning from both sides, getting on top of everything. This is when you have to keep infesting as well, because more Fiends start to spawn, and those don't have Infest on them, and you really want to make sure you have Infest on the other Fiends that are starting to spawn, because that's when the snowball really starts to happen. And it seems like MaNa is just barely getting enough of his reinforcements out in time to be able to defend against this, while also having some Fiends going off to deny the third base of Vortix. And now, with all these units here, it seems like MaNa is able to actually defend.
Yeah, so far so good here from MaNa. And look, I mean, he does try to hit that base at the bottom. MaNa is, at this point in time, I mean, looking pretty healthy as far as macro goes. Is there a chance he's going to be able to come in here and hit this? We got more Fiends coming around on the side. Could he just kamikaze onto this building and maybe take it out? Instead, he's going to try to come in here and go for these gaunts.
We'll be able to kill those off. It's pretty good. He wants to go over onto the imps now as well. We'll be able to deny at least a little bit. But for now, that third base will stay alive. So that's very good for Vortix if he wants to have any progression later on into this game. But MaNa's been the one that's had the full 3-base setup this entire time. And he's even looking like he's going to try to set up for a 4th base at this exact time right now on the left side. So MaNa is definitely the one that is in control of this game right now. And Vortix was the one trying to go for some really big timing push into that position to be able to break it. The thing here, though, is that Vortix actually took the triangle third, which has that double Luminite position. So it's going to give him a huge boost in Luminite. He does not have a lot of Therium to go here, so you really need that Therium for the extra Gaunts and the Magmadons. The Magmadons cost a lot of Therium, and he's not currently mining that out of anything except for his main.
I was thinking the same thing, Gemini. When I saw the double Luminite, I thought, well, that's going to be pretty resource rich. But yeah, it's going to be lopsided as far as income. Could he try to just make more brutes and go for fiends and maybe try maybe a fight more in the open, try to go for some kind of surround?
It's possible. The problem here, though, is that MaNa wants to force it onto the third base, which is really choked up. The double charge from Vortix with the Magmadons into the back line, trying to get on top of those Gaunts, but isn't quite able to get fully on top of them, and they'll stay alive here for MaNa. But now the Fiends starting to split up absolutely everywhere, getting on top of some of those Gaunts in the back line here, and now it starts to just become a total fiesta of who has the most Fiends. And for now, it looks like Vortix was actually able to get the better of it with some of those Gaunt reinforcements coming in here, forcing MaNa back, and now this gives a nice opportunity for Vortix to go in, but again, he has to be very careful for the counter infest. There it is, knowing that he's backing up for the rest of his reinforcements, and now it's all again on how the Fiends start to spawn.
Yeah, I guess what kind of Fiends pair with what over here. Vortix looks like he's getting a decent take on the fight here, as I don't see that many Fiends remaining right now. Another big infest over here is cast, as Vortix is going to try to press further forward here. Pretty turtled up position here with the brutes clogging up the entry points here between the towers and the iron vaults.
Oh my god, this is just absolute chaos. This is the infests going off every single which way, all over the place. The constant infests over and over again to make sure we get it on top of all the newly produced Fiends. And it's just a total chaos of who's going out and coming out on top here. More reinforcements. Huge stun from the Magmadon coming out from MaNa to be able to get on top of some of these units. But it looks like Vortix is continuing to actually push on through here, getting on top of the Shroud Stones, getting on top of the production here. The production cycle is not quite coming out for MaNa right here. It is. You can't actually queue units as Infernal, by the way. It's all on a cooldown basis, similar to Warpgate almost. So he's not able to constantly queue, so he has to wait for those cooldowns to come back before he can start to get more units out. And it looks like he just cannot do that. And Vortix somehow finds his way to bust on through.
Wow, GG. Great game there. Vortix is going to take it. Able to snowball that damage. The skirmish over just outside the double Luminite base. Coming in, infest versus infest, but eventually you could see Vortix was able to get the upper hand, and he manages to beat MaNa 2-1.
Yeah, I mean, the DreamHack champion has been dethroned at this point, even though this is not, you know, an actual huge tournament or anything, but pretty cool
Now
to
that
see.
he's the Tasteless TV
Yes!
YouTube champion. That was a lot of fun. Guys, thank you so much for joining us for that. There's going to be a lot more Stormgate content we're going to be putting here for out for you guys. This is the Devastator build. Next build is Elephant. So there will be some changes, but it's always good to get a little taste of what the pros have to offer. Stay safe out there. Have a good day. We will see you in a future video. Bye-bye.